This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by Author U and the Book Shepherd. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, top of the day, I thought that I needed to do a deep dive for a lot of you who are regular listeners, as well as welcome to new listeners, as to timelines and what to expect as you're expecting and when you move along into the book publishing arena and you start birthing your book. And I've got to confess, and here's one of my button pushers. The book hustlers will tell you that you can publish overnight, or you in a few weeks. You can write your book within 30 days. You can have it laid out. It's going to be the cat's meow, and you're off and running. Well, it could be the cat's meow, but it's come from vomit, and that's not such a good idea. You can get out there, but it sure is not going to be something that you're going to be beating on your chest, jumping up and down, saying, "Woohoo! Look at me! This is hot." My experience, and I'm 31 books long in the tooth here, is publishing success doesn't happen overnight. Books that look good, books that are good, they're not. You too can write and publish your book in 30 days event. It doesn't happen. Books take noodling. There's draft, and I'll say this a couple of times during our hour together today. When you embrace the RTP syndrome, the rush to publish, I'm going to tell you, you and your book are going to get in deep doo-doo. So that if you came to me as a book shepherd and you tell me you need to have your book in hand by, say, October, I can say fine, because say you have this hot conference, and I actually had a client, Lynn Hellerstein, that she came to me in February of a couple of years ago, and she said, I have this book idea, and she had not enough words, not enough pages. She had done a very crude, rough outline with a lot of filler-ins, but she had October, and I knew that if she could get it rewritten, because I said, well, this is good for a first draft, that if she could get it rewritten, that certainly she could meet the criteria, but the rewritten means that the entire book had to be done, ready to do the finalized editing by June. So we have this roughly 4-month window to get it together. Well, her skill wasn't really as a writer, although she certainly evolved since she came out with her very first book, which ended up being called See It, Say It, Do It. And it evolved. And we referred her to someone to help her on a ghosting format. And for whatever reason, it didn't work well. The ghost didn't connect. She didn't really get the topic. She didn't experience it. And in April, Lynn came back into my offices and said, this just isn't working. I knew it wasn't working. I was on the ghost case and said, okay, here's what we have to do. If you will clear your calendar, if you will come into my offices, I'm going to dedicate X amount of days to you. I will dictate to you. I'm not going to put it in by hand. I'm not going to input it. I will dictate to you. I will describe to you. I will work with you. I will brainstorm with you. We will shape your words. We will add the stories. And I will get this book done by June 1st. She committed. I committed. Exhausting. Sometimes we worked because she worked a full day. Sometimes we worked from 2 in the morning till 1 at night as we shaped and brought the book out, which has now become a multi award winner and is into its 4th printing. So I knew she had her deadline. I need to have books in hand October. I knew that I needed that book written, ready for formal editing no later than June 1st. I was going to have a window no later than July 1st. I had to get the layout. I knew layout was going to take, because we had a lot of images. I like to allocate an entire month for layout and any final tuning we need to do, that by August 1st I had to be at print because I wanted to have solid hard books back to us in the month of September. So I can work backwards knowing what needs to be done. Meanwhile, the author had to get endorsements and had to do all things. Did we meet all our deadlines? Absolutely we did, because we knew what the end date was and we could start sandwiching things in between to get them. She knew how to get her endorsements and the timing and the writing, and I knew the rest of the schedule. How was she successful? Yep. First book signing, over 900 books were sold. So that was very successful, but we had timelines in place, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to get into those timelines of what you need to look for as you put your baby together. And I want to add on just a little bit more. For example, if you need endorsements, the question is, number one, do you need endorsements? And the answer is maybe. So endorsements don't come from mom and dad and your best friend, unless your best friend happens to be a top influencer in the genre you're writing in, and potential buyers will say, oh my gosh, Joe or Josephine says, I need this book. This is the gem. This will change my life. This will give me the answers. This will fill in the blank. Otherwise, maybe it's a pass. Now, should you get endorsements, I think it's a good idea to gather them up. I just don't know if I'm going to encourage you to put them on the front or the back cover. You only use an endorsement, and I would keep them. I believe that this is a situation where less is more. That don't fill. In the old days, I have a book that was published by McGraw-Hill years ago, that the entire back cover was endorsements. Big name people. In my opinion, at least today, I think in most cases that's fairly worthless. That people, when they're looking for a book on the back cover, you're far smarter as a marketing ploy to write it with value and benefits to you. What problem will it solve? Have a great opening line or two. You need to have a stellar headline to suck them in, to grab them in, to hook them. You need to have one or two lines to set it up. Short paragraph. Think short paragraphs here, and then give some key bullets of what it will ease their pain, give them a solution, supply answers, or tickle their funny bone. Whatever your genre is, or deep dive into the romance line. You want to, this book is going to keep you up all night because you are not going to want to turn the lights off because it's a horror book. Something that will grab them in and carry them along and sell them. Often that endorsement isn't going to do it. Only if it's the key top influencer. Like if you had Stephen King, you're writing a horror book, and Stephen King says, boy, get this book. I didn't want to turn my lights off. All right, that's sales. You can hear the cha-king. Otherwise, I would put them in the front of the book. So that's where I'm going to send people, my authors out, to gather up and get endorsements from people who have read the book, other people who have some influence, certainly, in the area that they can read. But where do you put those? In the first couple of pages, even before the title page. As soon as that book cover is open, bang, people are talking. There's your shout outs. That's where I would be putting them. Your cover is very expensive real estate. Make sure that you really use it effectively. So you want to reach out. And the other thing I will say in gathering endorsements, I would probably encourage you to stay away from anything that is controversial, anything is political. Now, if you're writing a book that has a political base to it, and let's say your audience is primarily Democratic, well, certainly gathering someone from the Clintons, they're not going to endorse it, most likely. But the Clintons would be, gold in the bank. That you have key players who are politicians, it would be gold in the bank. Or on the Republican side, or the conservative side, if you were writing a book that that people who are devotees of, let's say, Fox, that Hannity endorsement or any Riley's endorsement, that would be gold in the bank. Otherwise, skip them totally, because you're going to end up offending at least half of your potential readers. Don't go down that route. For endorsements, you need to find out very quickly from them, and you need to start gathering them up. You need to really look at what do they need. Ask them, would you like to have a draft version on a PDF that you could print out? Would you like to have the draft version that I can print out and mail to you? Would you like to have it in an e-format? Ask them what they want. So you're doing it. I'm sending a book back to a well-known rabbi for consideration of an endorsement later today, or I should say tomorrow. And I'm going to be doing that because it's printed out and is bound for them. It's an advanced reader copy, because I know he is not going to read a PDF on his computer. I know he's not going to want to print it out, and I know that he won't be reading in an e-format. So ask your potential endorsements how they would like to see it, and then cherry pick. And then what I would suggest you do very quickly is that you put them on a ranking, number 1, 2, 3, 4. So where that they, if I could get anyone's line, maybe on an inside dust jacket or on an inside flap, or maybe I do one on the back cover, this would be my number 1 choice. So help out your layout people in that as you put it together. So as you're thinking and moving on, before we go into break, let's talk about the 4 to 12 months before your book is published. I want you to start thinking of the pre-selling concept. I start selling books 6 months before I'm officially publishing. I start doing shout-outs. I want you to put on the signature of all your emails going out, you're the author of the forthcoming book, blah, 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 and let people know its company. On your website, you want to put up a pre-sale page so you can start sharing information, what the book is about. Maybe when you have a really finished chapter, your layout person has tightened it up. You might want to include that. Right? When we come back, I'm going to have lots more. We are 4 to 12 months out before you have book in hand.
Is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Is there a book in you or another? Author U will show you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you'll find a supportive and brainstorming community that's connected and creative no matter where you live. Author U brings in national experts for its book camps and annual author extravaganza held each May. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through Author U's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. The Resource, its online book publishing news magazine, is content-heavy and it's free. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, Author U is for you. If you're a hobbyist or a casual author, it's not. Join Author U today through its website at authoru.org. Follow Author U on Twitter at Author U and on Facebook at Author U, where timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted daily. Author U, where the author goes to become seriously successful.
Every picture tells a story. And it's a truism that people do judge a book by its cover. Nick Sellinger and NZ Graphics have been in the business of producing superior graphic cover design and interior layout for self-published authors, independent and traditional publishers for years. He has developed a reputation for excellent work, fast turnarounds, and best of all, affordable pricing. NZ Graphics also produces ebooks and book marketing materials such as posters, sell sheets, postcards, bookmarks, business cards, logos, and more. Books designed for his clients have won multiple book awards, including Best Book Award by U.S. Book News, multiple Evie Awards from the Colorado Independent Publishers Association, Indie Book Awards, the San Francisco Book Festival Award, and Freedom Medal Award from Valley Forge. Visit www.nzgraphics.com or call 303-985-4174 for more details about making your book the success it should be. Mention that you are an FOJ, friend of Judith's, and that you heard about NZ Graphics on your guide to book publishing.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Okay, so we're talking about the timeline, and I was into kind of 4 to 12 months out, and I've mentioned endorsements because you do want to start thinking about them. And if you do already have some pals, connections, top influencers, especially in the nonfiction arena, that you want to start nudging in here and reaching out and saying that I've got this company, would you consider endorsing my book, and how best would it be to get you information? What do you need? Do you need the full book? Do you want some sample chapters? Are you so aware of my work that you're comfortable doing it now? Tell me what you need and how you need it coming to you. And always make sure that you give them a timeline when you need it back. I had one of our clients had someone who just roped her along for over 8 months. She held off going to print, waiting and waiting and waiting. Don't do that. Don't do it. Set a timeline, move on. And maybe after it comes out, then you could then add them in on your second printing run. All right, now let's talk about pre-selling your book. A couple of ways to do it. Always, you can have it on your website. And remember, your website is your brand. I am a strong proponent that your website should be your name. And it doesn't mean that you don't have the author's, the book title name. You should have that directed to your master website. I think it's the smartest thing to do. You keep consistent and you build your brand off of that. And so you'd have something about it, and that's why I'd love to get going on your cover very early on. And really, the more you can nail down what your cover is, you have the exact title, then as you go into layout, that the interior designer, if it's not the cover designer, him or herself, the interior designer can pick up some suggestion of the imagery or any way the fonts are being used, etc., on the interior design to add a little bit more pop to how your book goes out. And then again, as I said, once you really have a polished chapter, I mean, you know this baby is tight, you can have your interior designer create it as it will look in the book, and you can offer a sneak preview. You can just slam it on your site, or you can say, get a sneak preview of my forthcoming or my next book, and you subscribe and capture their email. So a couple of ideas there. I think you think about your pre-publication platforms here. So your website, you want to make sure you chat it up through your blog, even let them know what's going on through your blog. Carry them through the creation of it. Any other mediums that you have. If you are a speaker and you are out there, for heaven's sakes, create a flyer of some sort. And you have it and offer a pre-pub special. Now, let me tell you what my pre-pub special is. I never reduce the price. Never, never, never. From what the retail it is. What I do give them as a pre-pub special is free shipping. And depending upon the size and the cost of the book, that could be anywhere from a saving of $5 to $7. which could be anywhere from a 20 to a 30% discount from the total price of your book if they were to buy it from you and do shipping. That way that you could gather, you'd have the funds available when you go for a print run or something else of many thousands of dollars. And the other thing is that you want to do a projection when you move into this of, okay, this is what this is going to cost. You know, my cover cost is going to be in this, my interior design, I'm going to have editing costs. What you want to do is come in and figure out, okay, how many books do I have to sell at full retail and at discounted, like if I sold it through Amazon and there was a 55% discount from the retail price, how many books do I have to sell to move into break even and cross over into profitability? For me, it's always going to be in somewhere between the 300-400 book arena. Then I know that I've done the crossover, and I'm looking really for if I can cover my print run. I am super ecstatic because that's a big cost when I move into print for the books. So create a special form, a flyer, wherever you are, that people can sign up right there. Books are impulse buys. And also on this flyer or on your website or wherever you broadcast it out, do not say, my book will be available, October 1st. Don't go there. What you want to say is, my book will be available the winter, in the winter of, let's say, 2015. Well, the winter of 2015 is December through March. Or you could say the fall of 2014. Fall of 2014 is going to be a September through a December. Don't nail yourself down to a day. Give yourself a season. Trust me, you hiccups sometimes happen and you get delayed just a little bit. So be careful there. Collect the forms. And then I tell you what I do is we make labels in our offices that when the books finally come in, we're ready to go with shipping. There are all the envelopes. I will personalize all of them. We might have some extra literature that we slip into the padded envelope, and bang, they're gone. All right, think promotion. So 4 to 12 months out, your to-do list includes thinking promotion. Create a sell sheet, an order sheet. Start working on the copy that will be used in any catalogs you might drop into. You need a short bio, and I'm talking short. This does not go on in perpetuity, just a few lines that brings you into whatever your expertise is about. You want to start gathering names of publications that you can contact and send your sell sheet to review, and maybe even serial rights consideration and or foreign rights consideration. And when you create this, I want you to think ruthless editing. Think ruthless editing as you prepare any of your promotional material. Make sure you have someone who's got some copy marketing moxie go over it for you. That's worth a few $100s of their time. Start thinking about media and publicity. What are you thinking about doing? That you want to develop what we call your pitch formula. You know, it used to be that people were a little bit patient, and they talked about what was called the elevator speech. You had a minute. Do you have 30 seconds? You're lucky if you can get it to 15 seconds. And you want to, think of something very quick. This is for catchy stuff, tying in publicity. For example, it could be, if you're writing a financial book, it could be, what happens when you versus the IRS at an audit? Here are 5 little-known secrets to win if you're ever audited. What happens if you face the biggest bully in the workplace? Here are 7 hidden secrets to crush through those inner demons so you can communicate effectively and get resolution. Things like that. You've got to start thinking that way. Here are the tips I'm going to be doing. Next up, it's very important, these 4 to 12 months out, to connect and find out about any ongoing events that seem to be recurring that maybe you can tap into, as well as connecting with your favorite bookstores. And I would just go into Google and Google I would start regional if I were any of you. I would start regional. Let's see if I can go in and claim my region. I live in Colorado, so I'm going to start in Denver. That's the biggest city here. Aurora's right next to it. Then I'm going to think of the Western Slope. I'm going to go into the northeast side and think about Fort Collins, and I'm going to drop down into Colorado Springs. Who are the bookstores in those arenas? I'm going to look for independents. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to make a connection. I may go visit the store and going in and saying, here's what's going on. Talk to the buyer. Find out who they are. Schmooze. I had one of our authors took in an espresso machine and made coffee and lattes and brought in fresh bagels as she met all the players. Another cookbook author went in with some of her recipes and actually cooked on site and fed the staff. You don't think that enamors you? They remember you? Of course it does. So identify who the players are. You follow up. Remember, they get a lot of junk. You want to separate yourself from the crowd from that. So how about you want to think about your own colleagues who will be out there and start thinking about your platform blowout or your launching. How are you going to do it? Are you going to do an Amazon one? You should. How other ways are you going to do it? What kind of unique celebrations and events? Where would you like them to be? And by the way, places like art galleries, etc., are good places to connect with, and thinking they have lots of open space. They may even help underwrite the cost of goodies, including glasses of champagne. Why not? All right. So your social media presence, 4 to 12 months out. Oh, this is critical, important. If you're writing a YA, young adult, here's the one social media presence you cannot avoid or not go on, and it's Tumblr. It's where the young people, the tweens and teens, are hanging out. So TUMBLR, that's where you belong. Are you a Facebook type of person? Are you going to be tweeting and marketing this way? Are you going to be, is it in Google Plus? Are you going to be using heavily Instagram? What are you going to be using? Get familiar with it, start using it, get known, and then also you want to make sure you Google top influencers in blah, 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 blah. Your genre, your specific area that you are in the book. You start following them, you make comments on their blogs, you connect, because what you want to do is set up for a potential virtual blog tour. And this is a way you start putting that together. Make sure 4 to 12 months out, you get your URL for your book and anything connected with that. All right, we're going to come right back. Much more on what do you do to set up a timeline for publishing success. I'm Judith Briles. It's Author You, your guide to book publishing.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Since 1987, Color House Graphics has set the standard for quality book production. Whether you decide to print a small quantity of books or need a large print run, depend on Color House to help you. You'll receive professional help and advice the moment you reach one of our representatives. If you mention hearing about us on your guide to book publishing, Judith Briles, we will provide you a discount on the first order you place. To speak with a project manager, call us toll-free at 800-454-1916 or visit us at www.colorhousegraphics.com.
When Ned Thompson and Harry Shore started Thompson Shore in 1972, they believed employees with great character would make up the best company. They were right. They hired people who were not only experts in bookmaking, but who were obsessed with quality and delivering exceptional customer service. Almost 40 years later, Thompson Shore remains a 100% employee-owned company. Ned and Harry knew that successful customer projects are a direct result of empowered employees. We specialize in all books for large and small publishers. Creating beautiful and well-made books, we're dedicated to pleasing our customers by making the experience a good one from start to finish. The personal touch we have with our customers allows us to be innovative in solving their most difficult challenges. Our platform also ensures that we can remain flexible to meet our customers' unique needs and expectations. Our marketing kit can create buzz for your title, enhancing the promotion of your book during infancy. When you need to test the market to gauge your future sales, we can provide digitally printed books that will transition seamlessly into a larger offset run. From ebook to hard copy to delivery, our skillful customer service teams are at the ready to answer your most pressing question. At Thompson Shore, we know that making the highest quality books requires more than just best technologies. It requires superior customer service, professionalism to the trade, and commitment to environmental and social values. With these standards of excellence in place, you can be sure that we will always help you put your best book forward.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All right, we're back to doing this whole arena of setting up the timeline. And by the way, if you have thought about cruising, I'm going to encourage you to come with me January 18th to the 25th for the second Publishing at Sea cruise. It's an entire week. My colleagues, or what we call ourselves the Chicks at Sea, is going to leave Fort Lauderdale. We will be on the beautiful, beautiful Allure of the Seas, the Royal Caribbean line, and we are going to be actually game planning you, mapping you through many of things that I'm talking about today, to revisit it, to force it, because if you don't have the roadmap, you're in trouble, from starting your business, which I haven't even got into, and all the like. So it's publishingatsea.com. My colleagues, Amy Collins, who is the founder and visionary for New Shelves Distribution, and is a whiz at getting into libraries and bookstores and masterminding those campaigns. George McCabe, who can tap dance around social media. Joan Stewart, who is known as the publicity hound and can really shape some of those press releases and really get into some strategies for you. And joining us this year, special guest will be Michelle DeFilippio, who is the founder of 1106 Design. And we're going to get outside the covers and inside the covers of your books and designing, as well as an ebook. So we have a huge, huge program when we're in port, which will be the Bahamas and St. Thomas and St. Martin, the islands. You get to play all day. But when we're on the cruise, you're going to be working. So just to let you know, if you want to join us, you go to publishingatsea.com, and our agenda is up, the full itinerary is up, and you have the ability to pay for it over 6 months. How cool is that? So publishingatsea.com. All right, so we're talking about the timeline. I mentioned how important it is, your social media presence, connecting, following the top influencers, making comments on their blogs, developing a relationship so that when you're ready to launch your book formally, they will come in and do the shout outs to support that in your campaign. Also, think about when you send a book, you don't send it electronically, you don't do it in a PDF through the emails, you actually are physically sending the book. How about how it looks when it goes out? I'm not talking about your cover design, I'm talking about the outside packaging. You can do brown, or maybe you can do white, or maybe, if like me, sometimes I recycle everything that I come in and shoot it back out again. I do that often. But when you're doing your own books, I'm going to suggest you do something a little different. Now, people who know me know that I often use colors lime green. I use purples often. Always my websites. If you look at thebookshepherd.com, it's purples and greens. And we actually had a purple padded package that went out with our book in it. You could say that, and why would you do that? Number one, it stands out. So if someone says, I didn't get your book, well, it was in the purple package. Oh, yeah, I remember that. If you're doing publicity of any sort, if you're reaching out for media to radio stations or television stations, let me tell you, they get buku feet of promotional information every day. When you can say to a producer, oh, you know what? If you look for the package with the orange kangaroos on it, that's mine. They can find it very quickly. So think about doing something that you can add a little color to it, bright red, purple, orange envelopes. You could add, a swash of duct tape across of it. Duct tape comes in every color under the sun, and it just allows you to be different and be memorable. So that's a huge tip. How do you send your stuff up so you shine and soar above the crowd that you're competing with? Before we went to the break, I mentioned how important it was to purchase your URL for your book title, and as well as, by the way, include misspellings. Always important. Book title, your misspellings. Make sure that you have if you're a publishing company, you have that URL, so you do it directing to it. And by the way, we're not using www in front of things. Pretty much people know when they see a .org, a .com, a .biz, a .net, fill in the blank, that it means that you need to go to your browser, whatever you use, whether it's Firefox, Safari, Internet Explorer, Chrome, fill in the blank. And you just can paste in that name. I could just put in thebookshepherd.com, and it's going to directly go to my website. So the search engines are smart. You be smart too. You don't need to do that for that. So 4 to 12 months out, I've mentioned it. You want to start developing that website. Most authors are so entwined to gazing into their belly buttons and looking at that arena that you have to really think about what the shaping of that is and the presentation of it and the tweaking. And let me tell you, there's going to be lots of tweaking that needs to be done before you totally go out of it. And also, as I said, make sure that you have misspellings of both your name. You may be Susan Smith, but is it S-M-I-T-H or S-M-Y-T-H, or is it any other variation that might be out there? Make sure that you try to purchase that. And if your name is taken, if it's a common name and it's gone, it might be Susan Smith author, and just add author onto it. And by the way, make sure you use upper and lower cases in when you put the .com. The search engines don't care if it's upper or lower cases, but it helps your visitor register in their brain that this is this word, this is another word, this is another word, instead of a whole bunch of just letters all merged together. So creating that website, bringing in a savvy website designer pronto. Make sure, in my opinion, it should be on WordPress. Get your blog on there so you incorporate everything along that way. On that. And then this is your branding, so you have the right tabs. And if you're out there, if your goal is to speak, you know what? You need a speaking tab on that, and that people can drop in and give some topics that you talk about, give a brief description, give a couple of bullets of what the benefit of a listening audience would take away. Next up is you want to think about, okay, how are people going to be paying for this stuff? Well, if you don't take credit cards, you are leaving over half of your monies on the table, minimum half. I can tell you 5 years ago when I went to conferences, I would come back with a lot of money in checks, and I would come back with a lot of cash. Today, if I go to a conference, I may come back with a couple of checks, and I could come back with some cash, but not anywhere near what it used to be. And I will come back with mostly credit cards. So you need credit cards. And you need to put that together whether you have a standalone merchant account, that I know PayPal is offering merchant accounts. Intuit, INTUIT, has merchant accounts. Your bank may have has a merchant account. You're probably going to spend more money going that route. I would suggest you start it with. You can start you need a shopping cart of some sort, whether it's a one shopping cart. I use Premium Web Cart, whether it's there's a lot of sources out there. You need to look at what the costs and fees are that. We've had one of our sponsors in the past who I have used, I still use, is the free terminal.com, where you can actually get a heavy duty swiper. Because if you're going to a big conference and doing things, then I would be going into using that kind of arena so I could capture a whole bunch, swipe, capture, print it out. Because I spoke to a lot of female-dominated groups, they wanted a little slip, and doing that. You can get, if you've got a smartphone, which you should have today, Square and a lot of the other variables. PayPal has a little goodie, Intuit has a little goodie. The free card terminal has a little widget that you can put right into a socket on your smartphone that will take it in and handle it. So take advantage of all this up, and then you have it together. So I would take whatever you have, find what's compatible. You can do a Google search. What works best with a smart form, taking credit cards for book sales, and see what comes up. Square is going to be very common, and what you want to do is make it easy for you as you take information, and you can bring it all in. So play with it, get it way ahead of time, so you can learn to master whatever little tricks and tips they recommend, and you have it. But the bottom line is, make sure that you have the ability to take credit cards. There is no exception to that. All right, next up, you're going to be getting a ISBN. And my suggestion is you do at least 10 ISBNs. Don't go for onesie and twosies, and don't buy it from people who are reselling it, because it's theirs. The only place you go for an ISBN is Bowker, R.R. Bowker, B-O-W-K-E-R, and they have a special site they have set up called myidentifiers.com, which has all the information that you can grab from that and put it together. So 10 of them will cost approximately $250. Why I say 10? Because there's this wonderful thing called repurposing. And we'll be right back, and I'll explain what repurposing is about and why you need all these ISBNs.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
The book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and a guide to partner with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand, and is a financial success, a bestseller. It's your choice. You choose. You need the book shepherd. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You don't need problems. You want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and the chaos. At times, she's had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher or by a publishing service provider, or sometimes even the author themselves. Judith Briles is the book shepherd. If you want to create a book with no regrets, give her a call today. 303-885-2207. That's 303-885-2207, or email her at judith@briles.com. By the way, Briles is spelled B-R-I-L-E-S. Follow Judith on Twitter at My Book Shepherd and on Facebook at The Book Shepherd.
Total Printing Systems, customer service is our priority. We are located in Southern Illinois. Our employees have an average of 18 years experience and know that customer relationships are important to our continued success. We have been a short-run book printer for nearly 40 years and always stay at the forefront of technology. Our niche is from 1 to 5,000 copies. Today, we offer digital, black and white, and 4-color high-speed inkjet printing, a cost-effective way to introduce color into your short-run titles. We, of course, offer traditional offset printing as well. Bindery is done in-house, from adhesive case binding to PUR perfect binding to mechanical binding of all types, including side sewing. We provide warehousing, kitting, distribution, inventory management, a new print-on-demand facility, streaming browser-based ebooks, and bookstore. Call us at 1-800-465-5200 for a quote on your next book project. You can also visit our website at www.tps1.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, time flies, and that's what we're talking about is the timeline. We're still in what you need to do before you actually have book in hand, and of course you're writing all along. So we're up to getting your ISBN, how important that is, and it's also critical for you to identify what publications are in your niche that you're competing with, and Amazon will help you out. You want to go, and here's why you want to do this. Number one, you want to see what the book covers look like. You're competing with those kind of book covers. You want to go with the size of the book, what the pricing is of the book. This will all be helpful to you because a lot of that, the final size isn't often determined until you actually get to layout and they say, which do you want to do? Do not do unless you are going to be a mainstream, blow it out, aggressively pushing, marketing, blah, 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 a fiction book. Or a nonfiction book in a 6x9 size. 6x9 is basically used to be the norm. It's passé. We're into a 5x8, or 5.25x8, 5.5x8.5 are the norm sizes to do. The exceptions might be, for example, I just got through working with a book that is at the printer right now and being shipped as you're listening to this, a book called Shot Down. And it was a book about World War II and a B-17, the Susan Ruth, that was shot down. An amazing, amazing, amazing story. We did that in hardback 6x9. There are over 250 pictures from the men and the crew that survived that, as well as the people in Belgium who added to the story, and they ended up joining the resistance. It's an amazing, amazing story. That would be the exception going into. Otherwise, a little bit smaller, a little bit more intimate. If you're thinking business books, I always like to refer people to, for example, like Malcolm Gladwell's books, that size. It's a perfect size, that 5x8 size. But people expect they can slip it in. And by the way, it fits so much easier in the small box that the post office will give you for free. And guess what? Then you don't have to buy a box to ship. So just an FYI. All right, so you've got your ID. It's important to identify your competition. You're going to need to know that. And you want to also identify publications that you want to send your book, maybe in an advanced reader copy, as for review. So who's out there? Like Publishers Weekly. It could be Library Journal. Publishers Weekly has something new for the independent market called Book Life. And Library Journal, it could be Kirkus. Certainly I would encourage you to go to Forward. Forward Reviews is the #1 reviewer of independent books, and there's others out there. Take advantage of them. And that. You want to start thinking about creating media releases, press releases. Don't, and when you're going to email those out, do not send attachments. This is going to go all internally within an email, and you're going to create a snappy, sassy, salty headline with that. You want to work for this 4 to 12 months out, a great signature. And by the way, once you have your book cover, add the book cover to your signature on your email. So you have that. I want you to be thinking about speaking. Speaking. How can I get out there? How can I go about and put my book so I would have a platform to move it and to sell it. And I'm going to tell you, that's the way I sold a lot of books. And my stats for this, just to give you an FYI, that when you're looking at these things, is that you can, if you're speaking to a live recorded audience, then we have a scenario where that I figured I could sell to anywhere from 30 to 40% of my audience speaking would buy my book. And of that 30 to 40%, half of them would buy another book. So we had that. We put that in that formula over many, many years out speaking on the road. The second part of that is, if you were speaking in the evening, that formula didn't count. Because you could be the most amazing rock star, so hot, they loved you, they laughed, they were intrigued, they came away with fabulous ideas, but they just want to go home. So book sales would drop, if you're lucky, 10%. That's just the way it goes with that kind of a scenario. But think speaking. So start reaching out, and you might want to offer special deals. So here's what we used to do. I used to say that I'm willing to waive my speaking fee, now the string attached, during the celebration of the launching of blah, 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 blah. I'm willing to waive my speaking fee and put in what your speaking fee. Mine was $5,000. I'm willing to waive my speaking fee of $5,000 if everyone has a book. Now I can arrange with blah, blah, blah bookstore that you can get for a minimum amount, 25% off, something like that. So there are things, they're just become a channel to do it. They'll get them in, they make a little money, you register well in their bookstore, which is also another strategy to think about. And you're helping your community a little bit, you're helping the group, they're saving money on bringing you in, they're getting you without paying an honorarium, and you're selling books. So it's a win, 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 everywhere a win, which I think is a good idea. So you have that possibility that you can do well. Secondly, you want to start, I don't know what number we're on, but consider when you're speaking, you also need to have that channel to go through. So if I'm going to try to sell to bookstores, where I'm going to have them? Do I need a wholesaler or do I need a distributor? Distributor would do more on a pushing with rep. Wholesalers are just kind of a holding pattern. And one of I'll give you a name out of the group that we're having success with, most reasonable, working with when we get orders from bookstores or from people in general, and we're not shipping directly from our offices. It doesn't need to be customized, or they're buying maybe a case of something, that kind of thing, is that we use a group called Author Fulfillment Services, and they also do speaker fulfillment services. They're based out of Indiana. And Brett has handled it very well, and the cost is simply this: to pull the book, it's $2. If they have to pull more than one book, it's $3. So if they pull 100 books, it's $3. If they pull one book, it's just $2, and then whatever the cost of their shipping is to go out. And they handle our Amazon when we're filling Amazon orders. So that's worked well, and you want to have those people set up as you go along with it. Now, when you start moving closer and you start moving into the realm, we're moving into the 4 months, and within that 4-month window, here's what you need to start thinking about. It's called Amazon. Amazon. Am I going to create a launch on Amazon? Am I going to try to put together a bestseller campaign? You also need to set up your Amazon account and start thinking about that. Now, there's various ways to work with Amazon. Some of you may be using them as your platform to print, and think of Amazon as basically a distributor of sorts, but that they think of Amazon to print a book through their Create Space services. If you go that route, here's what I would suggest you do. You have a book designer do your cover. You have the interior done outside of Amazon. You have that person or persons load into the Create Space format platform. My choice is not to use their templates, their A, B, and C. But just let someone do it who really does know what they're doing. I have ideas and design and do those things, but I don't want to do that and do the template work myself. I will pay to have someone do that. You can then duplicate it and use their ebook, or you can have someone do an ebook designed for you on a show that we did in late July that we had, or I would say mid-July of this year. I had Nick Taylor on to really discuss ebooks. Nick has a great service for nominal dollars, really nominal, that he will do it and upload it into all the formats, from Amazon to Kobo to Barnes & Noble to fill in the blank, and had that have your ebook go in that. But what you need to do all that is an Amazon account. So you need to have those accounts, whether you're going to have a KDP account and use that service, KDP Select, where you're going to have kind of a 90-day exclusive with them, or you're just going to go broad and just get it up on an ebook and get it posted. I use an Amazon.com/advantage, have my own account, and then I'm able to track. And here's what I like. I can go up every day to see what kind of sales are going on. Right on my internal, I can see if I see sales picking up, I'm going to contact Amazon directly, and I'm going to say, I think you need to stock up. Sales are picking up. Their robots are watching it anyway, but stock up. Or if you're going to do a special launch, a celebration when you come back, to support the book, that you want to absolutely tell them that on what day in the month you're going to be doing a special launch out and how many books they will order. Now, they count on you that you're going to do the launch and that you're going to do your side of the work. They'll do their side, have books available, and get them shipped out. And then they'll drive it to it. So that's important to do. Now, we're going to, we've got a lot more to go. We're just starting to kiss. Okay, 4 months and you're still writing, right? You're still trying to get your book done. So we're going to go into a part 2. And I'm going to go in some more particulars of what you need to do to kick off that Amazon campaign, to bring in joint venture partners, which is absolutely essential. And you can hire people to do an Amazon campaign for you and spend thousands of dollars. Or guess what? You can do it yourself. And in some cases, I'm a DIY girl, and I do these things myself. And I'm going to walk you through some of those steps of what you need to do to be successful with that. So with that, we're going to sign off. We'll come back next week. We're going to be going into part 2. We'll kick it off with Amazon. I'm Judith Briles. It's Author You, your guide to book publishing.
Being a part of your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Each week,